What up, friends? Welcome to Ball and Buds here on Where We At? This is new. The Millions. Yes, millions.co. We are here streaming live in preparation for the huge Danny Garcia farewell to Brooklyn fight this Saturday, October 18th at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be a tremendous card, and probably never seen any of us before. This is our first time, so I am the sports professor from Ball and Buds. My boxing insider, as always, with me, Clubber D, and the boxing historian, 86 Boxing Josh, and our special guest today from I keep wanting to say top rank, top boxing news. Ian, what's good, my brother? How we doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing amazing. I'm happy to be a part of your guys' first stream on Millions, man. And let's talk about this fight. This is going to be great.
Yes, that is awesome. So again, I mentioned your channel, but do you want to let everybody know, the places they can find you or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. On Instagram, it's at top.boxing news. On TikTok, I believe it's the same at top.boxing news. And YouTube, it's just top boxing news.
All right, there you go. And I know you cover all combat sports. Is that correct? You do the boxing and a little bit of MMA?
Yeah, I do a
Do you
little
have
bit
an
of
MMA
MMA.
partner? Okay.
Yeah, I have the MMA. We're kind of getting it off the ground right now. It's a work in progress, to say the least.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, cool. Well, yeah, everybody, please make sure you subscribe on YouTube at everybody's channels. Tap in with them. Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS, Clubber D. It's pretty easy. Just Clubber D, and 86 Boxing. That's pretty easy as well. And obviously, top boxing news on Instagram. Get up with them. Well, I was going to say YouTube channels.
I was gonna say top right.
All right, cool. Let's get it started and kick this bad boy off. A tremendous card this weekend. Danny Garcia's farewell to Brooklyn card at the Barclays Center. This is a former two-division champion winding down his career. It will be co-promoted, or even I think it's fully promoted, by his own new boxing promotion, Swift Promotion. So I'm sure we'll talk about all of that. And we'll talk about the actual fight coming in, but this is what is supposed to be a retirement bout for him on his long legacy of fighting. He has been relatively inactive over the past 5 years with only 4 fights, but we'll talk about all of that. His last fight, a loss in September 2024 to his Landy Lada. So right here, he'll be facing Danny Gonzalez, Philadelphia fighter, 10-round junior middleweight tilt. And we're looking at a very good show. So we're going to talk about some of these fights here and get, obviously, all of these experts' wonderful opinions. So we'll start with you, Ian, since you are the special guest here. How do you feel about this overall weekend coming up?
Oh man, it's tremendous. Looking at this being promoted by Swift Promotions, I think if you didn't tell me that this was being promoted by Swift Promotions and you just laid the card out for me and didn't mention a promoter, I would have thought it was PBC, Top Rank, Match, like the big dogs. This is a huge card. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now. Danny Garcia, Nahir Albright, Rashad Mahdi, Chris Colbert, Damon Kaniba, Gabriel Rosado, Keith Colon. These are a ton of names on an absolutely loaded card. And I think the card itself is really an entry point for Swift Promotions. I got to talk to the president, Mike Farrell, a couple of weeks ago, and he said he's looking to turn this into like a PBC type promotion. He wants to become one of the biggest promotions in the sport, and I think this card is a perfect entryway into announcing themselves in the boxing scene.
Hey, that's insider information right there. Well, before we get a couple questions from the gentleman, from a historical perspective, how significant is Danny Garcia choosing the Barclays Center for his farewell?
Oh man, Danny Garcia! I believe this will be his 10th fight at the Barclays Center. That's a record-setting 10 fights. He's made it his home over his boxing career. The amount of left hook knockouts that Danny Garcia has had inside the Barclays Center is insane. And although he is not from Brooklyn originally, he has made it a second home. And I think he has, the Brooklyn fans have adopted Danny Garcia as a Brooklyn fighter, even though he's not originally from Brooklyn. And the Barclays Center, I mean, this is no I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's no small venue. It's not a convention
Right.
center. It's not part of a
Not a little bingo
hotel.
hall.
Yeah, it's not a little bit. It's not a casino hall. This is a
It's legit.
NBA arena. This is where the Brooklyn Nets play. I remember going to Brooklyn Nets games a couple years ago with my parents when I was younger, and to see Danny Garcia now headlining here, and you can say no disrespect to Danny here, but he is. This is the last fight of his career. It's not like he's in the prime of his career. He's kind of nearing the end, and for him to be able to still put on this huge event, headlining at the Barclays Center, I think it really speaks volumes to how he's established himself and how he's marketed himself in the sport. And yeah, I'll be flying out tomorrow, and man, I am very much looking forward to being there for this legendary event at the Barclays Center. And to circle back on your question, picking the Barclays Center is a very important decision for Danny because it's his 10th time fighting there. That's record setting, and like I said, he's established himself as a big draw in the Brooklyn area.
Nice. Where is he from? Just a sidebar. Where is he from originally?
Philadelphia? Yeah,
Philly.
Philadelphia.
Oh, he's from
Yeah,
Philly?
Philly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Clubber D, do you have a question?
Oh yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, I agree 100% with Danny. Help all having 10 fights there. It was always him, Broner, Tank. Always helped building the Barclays Center as a staple in New York because everyone thinks of Madison Square Garden, but the fact that he chose there, he already has that fan base, like you mentioned. I think that's amazing for him. And my question for you is, do you think, looking at this card, this main card as it is, do you feel like we're going to get surprised by not the Danny Garcia fight being the fight of the night?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, just in general for anybody, I guess.
Okay, well, I'll take it. I'll take it first, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you said there are a ton of loaded fights on this card. Looking at it right now, Chris Colbert is a guy who's been in the spotlight since before his pro debut. He's been in multiple documentaries on boxing now, and he's fighting Blas. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he's not fighting a nobody. He's been out for after the when the fight takes place on Saturday. It's going to be just over a year that Chris Colbert has been out of the ring. You got Damian Kaneva versus Joey Dawejko. Joey Dawejko, another guy who he's kind of established himself not in just the Brooklyn area, but the New York area, the East Coast type of area. He's not a world level heavyweight by any means, but he is what Joey Dawejko has built a reputation on is going in there and giving prospects and up and coming contenders tough fights and really testing where they're at. And Damian Kaneva's the perfect guy for that. 16-0. It looks like he's really starting to turn over that new leaf and graduate from a prospect to a contender. So this is now the test. You get the Joey Dawejko test. Is Damian going to be able to pass the test of the tough veteran? And it's another talking point leading into that fight is, can Damian stop Joey? I think there are a lot of, like, Gabe Rosado's an example. He's maybe a higher level than Joey, but he's a guy who is a test for contenders when they're kind of turning from contenders to world title challengers. And if you can beat Gabe Rosado, it's a good thing. But if you can stop Gabe Rosado, you're on another level. And I think Joey Dawejko kind of serves a similar purpose in this Damian Kaneva fight. And talking about Gabriel Rosado, he's back. He's back on this card. 27-17 is his record, but I talked to him the other night, and he is fully sure of the point that record does not define him. And he's not just – he retired 2 years ago after that second Bektamir Melikuziev fight, and he had a comeback fight a little over 2 months ago on a Marv Nation card. And he's made it clear that this comeback isn't just to catch a couple more bucks. He told me he is wanting to win a world title. So you got to sum it up, you got a lot of guys on this card who are coming back, and not just coming back to pick up a dollar or two. They're coming back to really reestablish himself on the world boxing scene. So yeah, I think if you had to ask me, I don't think Danny Garcia versus Daniel Gonzalez is going to be fight of the night. Not that it's not going to be a great fight, but it seems every fight on this card could end up being fight of the night.
Gotcha.
Ooh, yeah, there you go. Josh?
Hey, so many things. First, congrats to Danny Garcia, Swift Garcia. He's been doing it for a minute And I remember even the early days, and I got behind him because I could just see that tenacity in him, and he really wanted it. That Philly fight style. I'll say that, summing it up in terms of Danny himself, I think he's going to go down as a Philly legend for sure,
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
done this at the world stage. And Philadelphia, as a person who follows boxing history and really dives into it, I think that is the premier fighting town across the actual globe. If you had to pick one town where the greatest fighters in history have come from, I would say that it is
Mm, yes.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'd put that
Hmm.
up against
Like,
any city across the world. Across the world. And of course, there's high level competition, but Philly has had the greatest fighters, make no mistake about it. That being said, in terms of the question in itself and sort of the fight that we're looking forward to, that could be the one that stands out in some way and maybe even be the fight of the night. I don't know that it'll be the fight of the night because the young fighter involved might dispatch of his opponent fairly early, but I wanted to make people aware of a fighter by the name of Quentin Williams, or Quincy Williams, rather. Quincy Williams from DC. He used to
Hmm.
be over at Headbangers, and he ended
mm,
up joining DSG Promotions there, working with Danny Garcia. He's been there for a good minute since he's turned pro, as a matter of fact. But there's a documentary out there called They Fight. I know ESPN had it at one point, and it's probably on some
mm,
other platforms called They Fight. You get to kind of see the story of him as a youngster as he was coming up. He was on Team Combat League, actually, and he was an amateur at the time fighting on Team Combat League, which was kind of listed as semi-pro or whatever. Basically, they have their own designation there on like the likes of BoxRec. But that being said, he was on there as an amateur with no pro fights, and he was dispatching of pros because he's made of that type of goods right there. So Quincy Williams holding it down from Washington D.C. He's one of Danny's fighters. He's going to be on this card. I would say that he is a fighter to watch. And if you're talking about all of the intangibles and those credentials to get to that world championship status, I truly believe he has those. So if you're not aware of him, tune in for sure. So that would be the fight that I am certainly looking forward to from both a personal and just from a fight fan standpoint, because I think that he realizes the magnitude of the actual fight situation and overall, and he's going to come through, show up, and show out.
Nice.
yeah, for me, I would have one that's personal as well. He's fighting Damian Kaniba, so it's probably, most people are going for the favorite there. But Von Alexander, man, what a tough
Yeah.
fighter. That's my dude, man. I did an
Hmm.
interview on him after he had a fight at Country Box versus Maidel Sando, and it was a tremendous fight. They went back and forth. And yeah, Von Alexander is a fight I'm looking to because he's very, very tough. So, Josh, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I didn't. I actually clicked the
Okay.
button there,
Just
but
wanted
yeah, we're good. But Vaughn
Okay,
is
no.
legit for sure. Yeah, brother of Devin Alexander, if those who remember,
Oh,
the
really?
140-pound champion.
Mm.
Vaughn
Oh,
Alexander is
man.
his brother, which is a crazy connection right there.
Damn, that was my guy, man. He fought Tim Bradley. That was a good fight. Yeah,
Yep.
he's up and coming back then.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's get before we get into the actual fight. That was a great question, by the way, about the undercard and the storylines there. Thinking about Garcia's career as a whole, right? We know that again, he's fought 4 times over the past 5 years, 37-4 record, 21 KOs, 2-time division champ, 140, 147, tremendous career, fought plenty of great opponents. Even if you want to say, Lara was over the tooth at that point, or not. What would you say is your favorite fight that Danny Garcia had, or favorite memory about him, whatever it is, before we get into the actual card?
I'm looking through the ledger here. I mean, there have been so many. I might have to pick. It was a loss, but his fight against Keith Thurman,
Mm,
that was a barn. That was a
Hmm.
tremendous fight, and I never got to see that one live. I wasn't even really a boxing fan at that time, but that's a fight I always see myself going back and watching. And you can pick the many tremendous knockouts Danny's had. You can pick the Matisse fight, which is on the Canelo Floyd undercard,
yep,
but
good one knock right
Mm.
there.
the Keith Thurman fight, even though Danny came up short, that was a barn burner to say the least. And yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I'd probably say the Keith Thurman fight, but I think we with every question um, you can really explain and just understand how legendary of a career Danny Garcia's had, because I'm scrolling through his box rec here, and I could really pick out any one of these fights. I could pick out the Sean Porter fight, the Spence fight was even though that happened 5 years ago, and both men might not have been at their peak. That was a great fight. He had that win against Jose Benavidez Jr. He had the Zab Judah fight, the Amir Khan
Hmm.
fight. I mean,
Yeah,
Danny
Zab Judah
Garcia.
fight. Yep.
I mean, I'm looking through the ledger here, and man, I'm just kind of reminding myself kind of a little how much of a legend Danny Garcia is. And yeah, I think with your question, I'd probably say the Keith Thurman fight, but man, Danny has been in a ton of barn burners, and he's really deserving of this last fight at the Barclays.
Yeah, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on that? Either one can start.
Well, I feel like Danny Garcia, kind of like how Ian mentioned, he's fought a who's who. You know what I'm saying? If I were to equate him to
Hmm.
like the MMA world, he'd be like a Max Holloway or a Dustin Poirier, somebody
Mm.
who's fought just about everybody throughout the years. And
Hmm.
it's wild that he fought Eric Morales twice. I mean, you think about how long Morales was in the game. But for me, I say when he took out Amir Khan, that was when I was like, yeah, he's serious. Like when he beat Amir Khan, because at that time Amir Khan was the next Prince Asim Hamed. You know, he coming Pakistani by way of London boxer or whatever. You know, coming over with the fast hand. So when he beat Amir Khan, that's when I became a real started following him. And then when he got that like Ian mentioned, the fight on the Mayweather Canelo undercard against Matisse, who nobody wanted to fight at the time, that also kind of propelled him as well.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd say I'm going with Amir Khan. That's the fight that got me.
Okay, Josh.
So for me, actually, I would
Uh oh,
say,
your microphone's out, I think.
No, I hear
hear
you.
me now?
Oh, there it is. Now
All
it is
right, all
ringing
right,
out.
all right. Got it. So for me, actually,
I don't hear him.
I'm going to have to go with his series with the legend Eric El Terrible Morales, and this is Morales in his second stint as a professional, I guess you can say, because he had retired there for a short period, and then he came
Oh,
back, and
long
this was
history.
at 140 pounds, and this, of course, was where I think Danny Garcia was at his best, 140 pounds, and where he truly established himself. And that series with Morales was pretty spectacular, given the sense that one can never know how a fighter will be coming out of retirement, but Morales proved to be very formidable, even at that sort of more advanced age. And he wasn't like super advanced. I believe he's in his mid 30s at that particular time. And we know him from the scraps that he had back in the day there, Pacquiao, Marcos Antonio Barrera, and all of that stuff. But that being said, I just thought that series was just a standout version for Danny Garcia, and one that history will certainly remember, just given the magnitude of Morales and Danny Garcia being tied to it right there. So that's the one, or those two fights, I would say, are the ones in which I sort of recollect on. And he dispatched of Morales, actually stopped him, knocked him out in the second fight, after the first fight was fairly close and an entertaining fight.
Very nice. Yeah, and I actually saw in an interview this week, and I just came up in my mind about the interview. I remember he said that he believes that after he retires, he is a Hall of Famer. So, gentlemen, really quick, we're going to play a game I just made up in my head 2 seconds ago called Knockout or Knocked Down. Is it a knockout he gets into the Hall of Fame, or is he knocked down and does not get in? Ian, we'll start with you.
Oh man. I think
Ooh,
Danny
put
is
you
a.
on the spot.
I think Danny's a guy who's kind of right on the edge. Because I think, man, I don't know. I think if we're talking about more MMA, UFC standards, I think Danny's a first ballot. Just like you said with Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Danny does kind of fit that mold. I think if we were talking MMA, UFC, where they favor guys being in barn burners and just fighting everyone, I think he'd be first ballot. In boxing, I think it's a little tougher because whether we like it or not, we favor more of a less losses. Even if you're not fighting all
Hmm.
the top competition, if you're defending titles over and over again, if you're conquering weight classes, Danny's conquered weight classes. I don't know. This one's tough for me. He's a two weight world champion. You know what?
That's something.
I think Danny gets in. I think it's close, but I think Danny does get in. So I'm gonna give it a knockdown
Okay.
or
Hey,
knockout.
there
Is
we
it
go.
knockdown or
I was
knockout?
about. It was knockout, but they're close, so I don't
Knockout.
even fault
He
you
gets a
on that.
knockout. Danny gets a
I don't
knockout. Yeah.
even. I don't even fault you on that. I just made up the game, so I don't know. Josh, what do you think about that one?
Very interesting, very interesting,
I can hear everybody
and
but
I
Josh.
thought Ian made some very great points there in mentioning him and kind of what he was able to do. And yeah, certainly if you compare it to MMA, yeah, he would be in first ballot, no doubt about it. But the Hall of Fame is, as it's generally constructed, at least in the bylaws and writings of such, is meant for the absolute elite best of the absolute best. And I think that if you look at this past era, Danny Garcia most certainly is a standout, especially at 140 pounds. What he was able to do at 140, you could argue he overachieved in some senses. I remember when he came on and all of that
Hmm.
stuff. So I would say, yeah, he had a pretty stellar career, relatively speaking, when you think about kind of the norms of fighting here in modern times. But when I look at the greatest fighters in history, from a historic standpoint, I can't put him in the Hall of Fame. I give him a knockdown because of the fact
Ooh,
that I just feel like,
knockdown.
relative to the amount of fights that he had, if you weigh that up to the competition in itself, he has some good names on the resume. He has some good wins, but he doesn't have that sort of standout, that marquee type win, in my opinion, as far as what he's been able to do here in
Interesting.
the sport. Amir Khan, damn good win. Of course, Eric Morales in his second stint, damn good win. You know what I'm saying? But just from an overall standpoint, if I were to compare him with some of the oldies, and I love the oldies there at 140 pounds, it's a little bit different when you start to throw in guys like Barney Ross, Jimmy McLaren. You start to throw in others in and around that weight, the Henry Armstrongs of the world, Hammer and Hank. I just think that he is outside of it. Now, I will digress and say that there are some individuals in the Hall of Fame who you could argue had less of a career than Danny Garcia when you weigh the accolades versus the competition. So
Hmm.
could he get in? Potentially. He could potentially get in. With that being said, I would have him outside of it as far as I'm concerned, but hell of a career otherwise. And he, as I mentioned, will be a Philly legend for time as time goes on through and through.
I'm surprised that the two division champion did not sway you there. So, me personally, as you know, Clubber D, being a Puerto Rican, I am biased on this vote here as I am voting him in. So, I will stay out of this. I'll abstain and make you the tiebreaker. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I don't know what wizardry is going on, but I can't hear Josh for nothing. I hear you two
Oh,
perfect.
yeah,
I
we hear
can't hear
Josh
Josh.
perfectly.
I can't hear him.
Oh,
My
yeah.
bad. I know what's going on. But I will say this with Danny Garcia. Yes, two division
He said
champ.
no, by the way. He said no.
Okay, I got you. Okay, bet. I know Ian said yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, Ian. With him, if it was UFC standards, surefire Hall of Famer. My issue with Danny Garcia, yes, he fought a who's who, but I'm going to take it to an NFL point of view. Was he the best ever at his position, meaning weight class? Okay. When he fought the best, when he fought the Earl Spence, when he fought Keith Thurman, we're not going to say whatever happened with Terrence Crawford because you know how PBC treated Terrence Crawford, but when he fought the big dogs at the weight class, we saw what happened. I'm a big Danny Garcia fan, and he lost to Thurman and he lost to Spence in those fights. And then his last fight, Erislandy Lara, he lost that fight. And, Lara hadn't fought since 1987 and still beat him. And Lara might be 87 years old, but, it is what it is, still fighting well. Would I say he's a Hall of Famer? First ballot, no. He would be one of the people that would get in when his hair is very gray or balded because he wouldn't get in the first, second, or third go around. I think he will get it eventually, but I don't think he's a surefire Hall of Fame. He's on the teeter. He's right there. So I'm unfortunately going to say no.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So 2 no's and 2 yeses and a little bit of a bias on my yes, but I still take it anyways. I think the 2 division weight champion, I tried to look up how many there were in history. They had 3 and 4, but they didn't have a, but I would try to look for a specific number. Anyways, I think that's good.
My bad. I'm just saying, I think he'll get in, but if we're saying first ballot, no. I think he'll get in though. But if we're saying just first ballot, no.
Our brother Skywalker Boxing Media, y'all tap in with them. He couldn't join the stream, but he comments that, and for some reason they're not letting him comment on millions, but he says that his uncle made the Hall of Fame and had less credentials than Garcia. So there you go. I don't know who his uncle is.
Well, what I will say to that is you look at the level of competition, the time frame, and of course the sport is a little bit different now compared to what it was in the 70s, 80s, and that tends to be the case as you go further and further back, which when I go further and further back to the very early days, the early 1900s, the 1920s, hell, even the 1800s, I can go back to the 1800s, realistically speaking. What I will say is the sport is almost different just in terms of the way it's competed, but also you got to think about it from the standpoint we're now in the 4-belt era. So Danny Garcia has competed in the 4-belt era. So when we think world champion, it's a world champion in the 4-belt era, So in that case, you can win 1 title in each division and you'll be a multi-division champion.
It's a lot easier.
As opposed to back in the day where there was only 1 championship, an undisputed championship, and you had to get that. And certainly if you were able to pick up that title, then you beat the man that beat the man from a lineal perspective, So that's what I'll throw out there as well. But Danny Garcia, hell of a career, as mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought that would be a fun question because I just thought of it out of the top. I remembered the interview.
That's a good question. Very good question.
Now you sound like you're in a cave, my brother. Anyways, we'll just mute yourself for now and we'll keep it moving. Anyways, Ian, all right, well, hey, as we talked about, it's a legendary career, not legendary, but it's a legacy of a career that he set in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. As you mentioned, 10 fights, 7-2 in the 10 fight coming up, 7-2 in the 9 fights he's been there. We will talk about that last, everybody. We just want to get into a few other of the undercard fights before we move into that main event. Just want to get to some comments here. Again, y'all make sure you tap in with everybody at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS, 86 Boxing, Clubber D, and Top Boxing News on Instagram. That's top.boxing news on Instagram. Hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube as well. And yeah, Skywalker is leaving some comments. He caught Morales at the tail end of his career. I want to apologize. That's who I meant earlier when old in the tooth was Morales, not Lara. Anyways, he says he had 50 fights when they fought, kind of like passing the torch moment. Danny got a decent resume. But he said his uncle might have had tougher competition in Arguello Mancini Limon, which is a tremendous name. So I'm just gonna love that.
Your uncle Scales there, Skywalker. Come on, man.
Let's go. All right, let's talk about this fight, brothers. Don't want to keep Ian too late here. Did we get a bell ring? I like it. All right, so first fight that we want to talk about on this card is I think it's Rezhat Mahdi or Rezhat Mahdi. 15-0, undefeated, 8 KOs versus Jose Angulo. Reminds me of Denise Angulo. Shout out, 16-10, 9 KOs. We'll start with you, Ian, as the special guest. How do you feel about this fight?
Rashad Mahdi's a guy I've been following for a long time. He was featured in a YouTube documentary when he was younger. Basically, he's been a prodigy all his life, and I don't know if he was officially signed, but he had a lot of fights under the Matchroom banner recently. But he's taken some time out of the ring. He fought in March of 2024, and that was his last fight. It was before that it was June of 2023. So Rashad Mahdi has not been as active as he has wanted to be, and I don't know the specific reasoning for that inactivity, but I can tell you when Rashad Mahdi is an active, focused fighter, he seriously could make his way into a world title challenger. That one of the champs, Lewis Crocker, Rashad Mahdi has been calling for in his social media. And yeah, I think this is just kind of a sleeper fight on the undercard. Maybe not even a sleeper fight, but a sleeper fighter in Rashad Mahdi. I think he's back, and I think he's back with a serious focus. And I think fans should tune in early to catch Rashad Mahdi because I think he could really in a couple of years mold himself into a potential world title challenger. Shoot.
You're muted there.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I can't.
I thought it was acting up on me again.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, cool. So anyways, as I was trying to say, I really love his nickname. Y'all get ready for this. The Albanian Bear. All right, that is just a tremendous nickname. He's 27 years old, so he's still young. Clubber D, you say you used to call yourself a bear back in the day. How do you feel about this fight?
Yeah, they used to call me a Silverback Johnson Bear back in the day in 1987, back when I had a hairline. But that's another story. I'm going to. Now I forgot his name. I'm going with the albino bear on this one. It's part of my theme on this card.
Mahdi.
It's either come back or retire, and he's going to be on that comeback knockout streak. He's going to start this fight.
There you go, Josh. What are your thoughts?
So for me, I think that ultimately Mahdi, I favor him. Of course, he likely will get a decision. If I had to pick a choice, I would say decision. And Angulo, I think a number of us have probably seen him in contests, but he's the type of guy you beat to show that, okay, I'm ready for that next level, and I think that's going to be the case here with Mahdi, and he's going to advance to that next level, and I look forward to seeing him in the future. Promising for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you. I think it's going to be a majority decision in this contest, but he's not a tough fighter. He is a tough fighter. So it's like you said, one of those gateway type of fights. All right, cool. We'll move it on to the next one, and we'll start with you on this one, Josh. Joey Daweko, and I know I'm going to save Ian for last because he has a lot on both of these fighters. 28-13-4 versus Chris Colbert, 17-3. What are your thoughts on this fight, Josh?
Might be a little different there because the Waco is a heavyweight, so he's taking on Kaniba, actually.
Did I get that wrong?
Yeah. So he's taking
on
Kaniba.
Blascaro. I'm sorry, yeah. Blascaro. I apologize. Oh, you're right. I apologize. Start with the Chris Colbert fight. I apologize. I was looking at the backwards.
No, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think Chris Colbert should get this one. Chris Colbert, very, very promising fighter. People, you've probably seen him. He's pretty colorful. His hair is colorful as well when he steps in the ring. He's fundamentally pretty sound, pretty dang sound just from an overall perspective. He has a decent amateur pedigree to go along with it. And he has the gift of the gab to a certain degree as well with his mouth there. And he kind of spoke some potential future fights at a particular point. he kind of spoke of them prior to actually kind of looking into who he was facing at that particular time, and he had a couple of setbacks. But that being said, I will say he has heart. He is a determined fighter, and he hasn't let it hold him down. You know what I'm saying? So losses, they can mean different things, but certainly they're not the end of the world. And I view him as one of those type of fighters, despite whatever losses he has or whatnot. He seems to be intent on continuing to try and get better, try to advance in his career. And he's one of those guys that I could see potentially somewhere down the line in the future. He could potentially end up in a title shot. It's some capacity because I think that the type of fights that he has taken at a fairly early stage, as far as fights in totality, I think he's taken on some pretty solid overall fights against some pretty good competition. I think he will win this one. I think we'll continue to see Chris Colbert, and I hope that he can continue to press forward, keep things together, because a loss doesn't define you. He can be one of the prime examples. A loss doesn't define your career. You know, you look at some of the greats from the past; they lost. It doesn't mean anything when you look at it from a from a more total scale, right? Not if you look at it granularly, yeah, you can make some comparison. But when you look at the full scale of a career, you can bounce back. You can continue to do your thing. Maybe it wasn't your day. And that's what I think of Chris Colbert. And I think that he seems to have that mentality of a guy. He hasn't given in. So he's going to continue to press forward. And I wish him the best with what he does. And I think he gets this victory.
Yeah, as a person that is a great, I have to say, sometimes under the bright lights, even I fumble the ball. Josh, even in this media game, we make mistakes.
Yep.
And looking at my notes, I was a little backwards. We got Ian over here looking at me like, what kind of boxing card am I looking at? Because that's not the right boxing card. So even the best make mistakes in those bright lights. Clubber D, give us your thoughts on this fight.
Well, I'll say this about Chris Colbert. He's coming off 2 losses, and one was that knockout by
Valenzuela.
yeah, that was rough. But he's fighting at home in BK, so definitely had that going for him. I thought he was going to fight Gary Russell when it was going back and forth that one time. But if guys who haven't seen Chris Colbert before, like mentioned before, he has the blonde hair. He is a terrible fade away from looking like Wesley Snipes from Demolition Man. But I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to win. I think this is going to be him catapulting his career and getting it back on the right path. He's fighting at home. He likes the bright lights. He's a well endorsed fighter. He has a great story. Now it's time. You had your downfall or your shortcomings. Now it's time to bounce back and have a great career from that. So I got Cobra in this one.
There you go. Hey, Ian, look, they call him Prime Time. I know you got some stuff on him, but I want to talk about his opponent a little bit. He is a tough Argentine, enters with momentum, having defeated Gabriel Morales twice in 2024, looking to make a statement against Cobra. What do you think about this fight?
Yeah, like you just said, the opponent, Blas Caro, he's no pushover. He's 12-8, only been stopped 3 times in those 8 losses, and yeah, coming off some good performances against some good fighters. Gabriel Morales, you mentioned, you picked up a split decision win against him. But circling back to Chris Colbert, like I said earlier, this is a guy who's been on the big stage since his career started. He actually made his pro debut at the Barclays Center, and now this will be a full circle moment. Now this is going to be his now 5th fight at the Barclays Center. So we've been talking about Danny Garcia having a lot of fights here in Brooklyn at the Barclays, but Chris Colbert as well. This is kind of a second home to him. It's a second home to him, and yeah, he was really looking good. He beat Jaime Overleda. He beat a guy I can't really pronounce his name. And then he fought Hector Luis Garcia. I believe it was for a WBA regular title, and he fought Hector Luis Garcia, and he got surprisingly beat at that time, and he got beat pretty handily. Got dropped en route to a pretty wide decision loss. Then he fought Jose Valenzuela, and I'm just being honest with you here. I thought he pretty clearly lost that fight.
Oh, yeah.
But he gets the win, and then he boldly rematches Valenzuela. That's something he didn't have to do in that position. A lot of guys, when they get a controversial decision, to say the least, against a dangerous guy, they won't go back and fight him again. But credit to Chris Colbert. He went back and fought him later that year. As we mentioned, takes a pretty brutal knockout loss there, and then he fights Omar Salcido on Pro Box in the end of 2024, and picks up a loss there. So it's Chris Colbert doesn't lack talent. I think in the past he's lacked focus, and I got to talk to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said that this resurgence is he's a new version of himself. So I think this fight against Blascaro, I think it'll really show if he's being truthful. I think it will really show if Chris Colbert is, a shell of what he once was, and if it's time for him to hang it up, or if he's really back and if he can really contend in whatever weight class he chooses to contend in. So that's why I think you should tune into this fight, because it's not only a good stylistic clash, but it's a real do or die win or go home moment for Chris Colbert.
Wow, yeah, no, that's great. I love all the insider information. We're gonna have to bring you on the Ball and Buds. I love this. This man talks to every boxer, and you need to meet Skywalker too, because y'all would have a networking bonanza. Anyways, all right, yeah. Let's thank you for that great astute analysis. Let's move it into the next fight. Damian Kaneba versus Joey DeWico. Clubber D, start us off here.
Well, Joey DeWico, he's coming off 2 losses. I think it was the ESPN fight against Richard Torres Jr. where he got disqualified, kept spitting his mouthpiece out. That's him if people remember that fight. And I feel like this fight is going to be I know in MMA, when we're doing an MMA show, I call Kevin Holland, a gatekeeper at times, the guy who's painting the fence, waiting for a contender to beat him and then make that next step in their career. That's what Joey is right now. Okay. Kaneba, yeah, he's gonna, he's 16-0. He's tall with 6'7", got 10 KO. So this is gonna be, I think for me, this is the showcase fight on the main card for this heavyweight to show that he deserves to take that next step into competition heavyweight. So I don't think this fight's going past 3 rounds, maybe 4. We'll see. But yeah, it's going to be a fight for everybody to watch to kind of showcase Kaneba's talents.
Yeah, Ian, I know you got a lot to give to the audience on this one. Just to let everybody know, though, looking at their Tapology records, it looks like obviously 6 years Damian Kaneba has on Joey DeWico, but also is a lot taller than him and has a bigger reach than him as well, larger reach as well. So what do you got on this?
No, yeah, Damian Kaneba, he's a giant. Funny story. I don't remember how long ago it was. I think it was in November of last year. I was at the Turning Stone for a fight, and I was there with some of my friends, and they were up in the room, and I was just kind of around. It was a casino resort, and I was just kind of roaming around, see if I could see anybody. And Damian Kaneba got there, and I literally took a picture and sent it to him saying, "This guy is a giant." I mean, he's listed as what, 6'7"?
Mm-hmm.
He might be taller than that. Like, seriously, I've been up close and personal with Damian a couple times. I went to a media workout at his gym back in February, and not only is he a big tall guy, he didn't run that gym, but he carries a sort of aura around him that he is confident in his abilities, and he's the guy when he enters the room. And I've been to some of his fights, and no matter where his fights are, he brings a big Polish audience to wherever he's fighting. So Danny Garcia is going to be packing the house at the Barclays, but don't be surprised if you see a lot of red and white flags in the audience during this fight, because Damian he brings a big crowd. And I don't remember where I saw this, but it was a couple months back. I saw something that said I think he lives. I don't know if it's for sure a trailer, but to say the least, he doesn't. He's people say in boxing you get a little comfortable sleeping on the silk sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Damian doesn't sleep on the silk sheets. He's a guy that's willing to go through the trenches to get to where he needs to be. And yeah, I think over watching Damian's last couple of fights, the progression has gone from like here to here. 5 fights ago, he was fighting a guy by the name of Helaman Ogwin, who's 9-5-1. He then fights Michael Coffey, who's 13-4. Then Richard Larney, who's 16-6. Then Andres Wardrick, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, who is 34-4. And then an undefeated 25-0 Polish fighter. So Damian is climbing and climbing and climbing.
Mm-hmm.
He's climbing the ranks fast. I think he's officially graduated from prospect to contender. And yeah, this fight against Joey DeWico, Joey's a tough guy. And if Damian, I think a big talking point in this fight is I think Damian's going to be expected to win. He's much bigger. I think Damian could, if he wanted to, stay on the outside and stick a jab and an occasional right hand in Joey's face and win the decision. But I think a big something I'm going to be looking for in this fight is can Damian stop Joey? And I think if he can stop Joey, he has really announced himself as one of the best up and coming contenders in the heavyweight division.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look. First of all, the first guy you named that he beat in those 5 last fighters, his nickname better be the Gila Monster, because that would have been too easy if he would have been messed up if he passed that up. Second of all, I was scared to say his height because I was like 6'7". That can't be right, and I know Tapology got me a couple times on some streams with some wrong stuff, so that's why I was like, oh, he's just a lot taller than
All do, man.
Josh, what you got on this one?
No, hey, I can't really stray far from what both men just stated right there. He even knocked out Curtis Harper, who's fairly durable. I think
Ooh, the Curtis Harper.
Joey DeJaco, he is, I would say, the definition of a journeyman, and it should be a test for Kaneba, but I think this is a test that he will pass because so many things are on the side of Kaneba, and Joey's not a guy that you just stop easily, you know what I'm saying? But I can see it being a stoppage. You know, if I had to go any type of route, I think it will be that. I think Kaneba will realize the stage that he's on. Barclays center, Brunton center, in a sense. Danny Garcia's last fight. So I'm going to go Kaneba as well for all the reasons that these gentlemen just stated.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, and that's one thing they need to get on millions. Hopefully they hear me, but the ability to share a screen. Because if you have the ability to look at this guy he's fighting, my God, this Joey DeWico looks like a hulking bulldog. He's just like he's shorter, but he's just like
I went to a BKFC event and he looked like somebody that would be fighting at BKFC. He looked like I could see.
Yeah, he looked.
And he did actually. He has had a fight there, and he lost. Yeah, it's a little different though. That BKFC definitely different.
I ain't messing with no dudes whose nickname is Tank. Okay, that's just not something that's going to be happening. Also, I wish I could show you Blascaro. You'll have to check out his Tapology later. But Cruella DeVille comes to mind. So just look at that later. Club
yeah.
All right, cool. Let's move it into the next fight. Gabriel Rosado. We got going up against my personal favorite in this card, Vaughn Alexander. Gabriel Rosado is 27-17-1. Vaughn Alexander 19-16-2. So it's not like we got undefeated fighters here. These fighters are coming to just throw hands, Josh. The King Rosado versus the Animal Alexander. Who you got in this matchup?
I got Gabe Rosado, of course. I like Gabe. I think he's battle tested for sure. Both of these guys, really, if you look at it, as I had noted a bit earlier, Alexander, Vaughn Alexander, he's the brother of, I believe, older brother of Devin Alexander, former 140-pound champion, and he's still fighting. But that being said, Vaughn Alexander, he started out pretty good, and he's just run into some tough competition at these different levels. And if you look at it from that standpoint, it's going to lean towards Gabe Rosado, though Vaughn has been fighting at a higher weight than Gabe over the course of his career. That being said, I think that Gabe has enough of the competition. And if I were to look at it from a skill set standpoint, he has a better skill set. And of course, Gabe is a Philly fighter, the premier fighting town in the history of boxing. So I'm going with my man Gabe. I remember when he made this comeback, I wasn't sure if it would be temporary or what, but it looks like he's really looking to do some things. And man, I just like Gabe Rosado, man. Tough, battle-tested, a true throwback fighter in that sense, especially if you look at the history of sport. Don't let the record in itself fool you because, hey, you can get your apple cart upset in some sense, as we saw with Bektamir the Bully when Gabe knocked him out with a one-punch knockout right there when nobody was expecting that. And I think that's the definition of Gabe Rosado, a guy who can get it done when you least expect it. and true veteran of the sport. I think he'll go down as a Philly legend as well, just because of the competition he's been in with. So I'm going with Gabe.
Sure, and look, he's a fan favorite, known for fighting anywhere. You not mentioned the legendary knockout, and you mentioned that records can't fool you. So I want to give you some insider information, as Ian has been blessing us. As I interviewed Vaughn Alexander, Vaughn Alexander had hit a little bit of a time in his career where he needed to take some time off from boxing. So that kind of set him back in who he was going to fight in competition. He had to come back and start fighting advanced competition in a very quick manner if he wanted to get anywhere. He's 39 now. And so he started taking on the toughest competition on a long layoff. So I want to give my man some credit in that. And hey, we have a two division world champion brother. I'm going to go with my man. I'm a little biased on this, but I'm going to say Vaughn Alexander somehow pulls out the win. Ian, what you got on this one?
Yeah. Originally looking at this, I kind of thought Gabe was just back to fighters never really stay retired. They get the itch, Fighting's what they've done their entire life, so they want to come back because it fills the void. But talking to Gabe the other night, it really made me seem like he's not here to play around. He wants to, come back and shake up the sport. So that got me really excited for this one. And like you just said, Vaughn Alexander, he is no pushover at all. Vaughn Alexander, he's a guy that's always going to go in there and put up a great fight. Rarely gets stopped. And yeah, I think this is a test between two guys who have served as, with all due respect, somewhat gatekeepers. They, guys who test the up and coming generations. And I think we'll see who's ready to graduate from that gatekeeper to pursue some titles of their own. And yeah, I think this is an intriguing fight. And yeah, I think earlier we talked about what could be fight of the night, and I might lean towards this one if we had to pick one.
Clever D. I mean, I see. We really got to get Ian on with us.
Yeah,
He knows
knowledge.
this stuff a lot. But you know all about gatekeepers. I know you like to rail on them sometimes. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, like I mentioned before we got on, this Gabe, he wants to fight. He's not scared to fight anybody. He will fight anybody. I saw him fight a crackhead last week. But anyways, he was made for the UFC. Like his style, the way he is, he reminds me. He's like probably same age or a little older, younger Diaz brothers. He reminds me of them, and he has a scar tissue on his face when he fights as well, like when he fought Triple G, that stopped because of the cut. With that being said, his record, yes, it is 26-17 or whatever. And you look at Vaughn Alexander, he's 19-16. So people who don't really watch the sport will think, why would somebody care about this fight? Why would somebody worry about it? But
right.
For true people that
casuals,
yeah, exactly, 100%. And for people that like the sport, this is a fight that we wouldn't mind seeing because we know what's going to happen. This is literally put your one foot in and don't get your foot out the tire. We're going to be hitting nonstop. I don't see them going to the ropes. There's going to be right in the middle. It's going to be all action. With that being said, I mean, both of them are coming off 4 losses. I know the inactivity on both of them. This is similar a battle of the Unks because 39-38.
Battle of the Unks, yeah, it is. That's funny.
You're going. I know you got the relationship with Vaughn, but you're going against your Boricua brethren and Gabe Rosado. But it is what it is. I'm gonna lean towards Gabe Rosado on this one.
Okay.
He just has a little bit more experience, but I will do a Clubber D caveat and won't be shocked if Vaughn Alexander wins it. But I'm going.
Yeah, and I'm going to. I got a caveat right now because Tapology. Thanks a lot for not letting me know Rosado was Puerto Rican. I can't just assume that by that last name. They got the American flag. How am I supposed to just assume that? Now I want to go back and pick Rosado, but now I can't because I already went with my man.
Too late.
And he was in Creed. He had a little cameo in Creed, so he's a good actor too.
That is great. That is tremendous. All right, cool.
No
we got 3 more. We got the no coquito for you. Shit, I need some coquito. I can't wait till Christmas. We got 3 more fights because I'm the professor, sports professor, is putting one in himself, and this one is it. Matthew Gonzalez, 15-1-1, versus Wilfredo Flores, 12-5-1. look, again, older fighters here, but I appreciate both of these fighters. Are there any thoughts on this fight for me? You don't have to. I'm just asking.
Look, make sure. Let me see if I know these cats.
I
Hold
know we
on.
I'm
didn't. I
not
know
too
we didn't talk
familiar.
about. Okay, all right.
Let's see if I
I
know
figured.
these.
I figured. Hey, their
Oh,
records look good, and I heard the Flores name plenty of times, and I figured, hey, maybe we'll talk about these guys, but we do not have to. So, Ian, do you got anything? Save us
No, I'm
from
taking a look at
ourselves.
the box recs right now, and 15-1-1 versus 12-5-1 makes for probably going to be an entertaining fight.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a credit to Swift Promotions. They're it's not a 15-1-1 guy against a 1-1-1 guy. So it's showing that even though the guys might not be as known, that they're still matching guys up and looking to put on good fights. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you know what? I appreciate you picking me up there. That's like baseball where you make the out and your brother picks you up in the next inning. That's how that went right there. I just threw it out there to see. But let's get into the co-main and main event of the evening. Farewell to Brooklyn. This is going to be an amazing, awesome card. That is why we have Ian from Top Dot Boxing News on EIG. You please make sure you tap in with him, as well as 86 Boxing, as well as Clubber D and Ball and Buds. Make sure you tap in with everybody here. Let's get into the co-main event. Richard Comey, 31-5-1. Nahir Albright, 17-2. Clubber D, we're going to start with you on this one. Nahir Albright is 9 years younger
Mm-hmm.
than Comey. What do you got on this fight?
Well, I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. You got Albright who fought Keyshawn Davis, but the fight guy became a no contest because of the 420 festivity
Keon Davis.
that
Or
Keyshawn had, and then when he fought his brother Kelvin, it was Kelvin, right?
Sometimes that
Kelvin
happens.
Davis. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah. He
He
fought
fought
both of them. Yeah,
Keyshawn,
right.
then he fought Kelvin. So he fought
Yeah.
Keyshawn first, but that was a no contest because of the activity, recreational things that were in Keyshawn's
Oh yeah,
body.
yeah.
And then he fought Kelvin when it was supposed to be Keyshawn's homecoming in Norfolk when he was going to defend the belt. And unfortunately, we saw what happened. Albright won, and then backstage there was an altercation. So this is his first fight since that happened. That happened about probably 4 months ago. Down in Norfolk, Philly fighter, and then you got Richard Comey, who's fought just about everybody from Lomo to Tiafimo to Robert Easter Jr. He's fought just about who's who, but he's 38 years old, so you got 38, like Omar mentioned, against 29. So I'm 100% going with Albright. He's going to ride that wave that he got from the Davis fight and then situation after that fight, and now I think he's going to propel his career, move forward, and I might end up in a rematch against Keyshawn. They could build that up, but I'm going with Albright in this.
Yeah, Comey's a really tough fighter,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously they're putting Albright in there, Ian, as a 17-2, hoping that he can get the victory here. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this fight was originally supposed to be Richard Comey versus Ashton Silve, who's
Oh,
more
yeah.
of a younger up and coming. Not that Nahir Albright is not a good solid fighter, but Ashton Silve was supposed to fight Richard Comey, and I think what was supposed to be more of a put on against a
mm-hmm.
former champ who's now over the hill. Ashton Silve gets
Mm-hmm.
pulled out, undisclosed reasoning, but Albright kind of gets the spot that Ashton Silve had now, where I don't if Ashton Silve wasn't already in the spot to fight in the spot to fight Comey, I don't think Nahir Albright would be fighting Richard Comey. So he kind of got gifted into a fight against a former champion, which if he wins could set him up for some big fights. Beating Richard Comey is it's no easy task, and if Albright is successful, which I think he will be, he's riding a good wave after the Kelvin Davis win, and he picked up some Team Combat League experience as well since then.
Nice.
I think if Nahir Albright picks up a win here, he really found himself into a situation where he could really start making his way up the rankings and maybe starting to make his way towards a potential title shot. But this is another one of those fights where Nahir Albright is riding the wave of beating Kelvin Davis, and he's more on the up and up. But Richard Comey, like if we're trying to make a visual here. Nahir Albright's down here, and he's on the up, and Richard Comey's right here, and he's on the down. So they're kind of meeting right there in the center, and that always
That's
is going to
right.
make
Yep.
for a good fight. And I'm probably going to pick Nahir Albright, but it's going to be a good fight, and the winner does propel themselves into some big fights.
Yeah, you're right. Albright, the 29-year-old, did beat Kevin Davis for that WBC belt. So he had the regional one at least. So he had a little bit of a win there. But Richard Comey, like you mentioned, no slouch, former IBF lightweight champion from Ghana. He has battled Lomachenko, Teofimo, Jose Ramirez, among many, many others. And he's following a August TKO win over William Jackson. Josh, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Ooh.
I love Richard Comey's style, as a matter of fact.
I
And if
don't
you're
know.
able to beat him, then that says something about you right there. I like Nahir Albright as well. I mean, if you went and looked at it from a fundamental standpoint, you probably lean in the direction of Nahir Albright. And I could give you that. And I was just thinking about this now. I hadn't made any pick or decision on things, but I feel like one thing I like about Comey is that he brings it every fight, and you can see he has that determination and that want in him. I'm going to go against the grain slightly, and I'm going to go with Richard Comey to pull off this victory because I think that he at least should know that this is potentially his very last opportunity, at least at a top level. And I do agree with what you all mentioned there, and Ian, what you mentioned in terms, if you look at trajectories, Albright is a little bit down, a little bit downward here, and Comey is a little bit up, but they're both kind of headed for a collision course, and maybe it's the right time. So that's why it's unpredictable, because it could be that time where Richard Comey, he no longer has the ability to take that type of punch or whatever it could be, especially at that age. I'm going to go with Richard Comey. I'm taking the veteran experience, and I'm taking the more battle-tested fighter from career totality. That being said, to hear Albright, I mean, he's no slouch, and he's been in with some pretty top-level competition himself, and yeah, it's a tough one right there. Almost 50-50 in some sense, I'm going to go Comey, but I respect the choices of others who went with Albright.
Man, I'm with you, Josh, and we always kind of somehow interlink on some of these fights here that are kind of main events and co-main events. I agree. Like I said, all the battles he's been in, I'm going to merge your and Ian's arguments together, or talking points together. If they're on that trajectory, and I'm a math nerd, so if they're on that trajectory, and you're telling me that one fighter has a lot more experience, the other fighter who's younger has suffered other setbacks, I'm going to take the more experienced fighter at this point. So I am going with you. Comey win this fight, and I'm going to say Albright gets cocky and gets knocked out. And I don't know that because I don't know how many times he's been knocked out, because I don't have a KO percentage in front of me. I really should use the reason was I usually like to use Box Live, but they didn't have the full card. Box or Tapology did, but Tapology don't always give you all the information for every fight. So, anyways, neither here nor there. That's my decision. Comey is going to win this fight. All right, let's move it into the main event and get everybody out of here. We got less than 10 minutes here. Got to get everybody gone for the night. Danny Garcia. This is the whole reason we're here, y'all. Promoting that fight. Farewell to Brooklyn. Danny Garcia coming back for his last fight there in Brooklyn. Are you promoting the code, Ian, with your code or anything?
Code Greene, Grene. Use the.
There you go.
Buy with the code.
Buy with the promo code Greene. That is our special guest, so please use his promo card. His last name is there on the screen. All right, cool. Let's move it in. Again, Garcia 37-4, 21 KOs. We talked about the relative inactivity over the past few years. He's going up against Daniel Gonzalez here, fighter the Dannies, so to say. 22-4-1, 7 KOs. This is a 10-round junior middleweight tilt. Ian, you are the special guest on this show. We are going to start with you. What do you think about this huge main event?
You just said it. It's a huge main event, and since the first press conference, they've built it up very well. I'm not going to say it's some Floyd Pacquiao rivalry, but these guys have a little bit of a disdain for each other, and there's no love lost. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. They've built it well. They've hyped it up well, but I do think it's they picked a good opponent for Danny Garcia's farewell fight. I think this is really serving as a final walk across the red carpet for Danny Garcia. A final showing of what he can do, and maybe even we talked about it earlier. Maybe even a final push to the to stake his claim for the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it's not even just style wise. It's a legendary main event because it's Danny Garcia's 10th fight at the Barclays, and yeah, I think it's the perfect top to a legendary Swift Promotions card. They're coming out into the sport, and I think it's great that Danny Garcia is headlining. And if you want my final prediction for the fight, I think we're going to get a pretty vintage Danny Garcia performance here, and I think he might just pull off one of his signature KOs. So I'm looking at Danny Garcia to pull off a big victory in what could be his final fight here.
Well, there you go. You don't seem to think that his inactivity will affect him. This is more of the narrative of a redemption arc. Josh, the last fight, is there enough left in the tank, or are there potential pitfalls in this farewell fight? How do you feel about this fight?
I'm going to go in the same direction as Ian there. I think that this is like the farewell for Garcia. And when you're in these types of situations, barring things crazy or unexpected, then he's going to show up, show out, and do what he needs to do in front of Barclays, which would be like a crowd for him, sort of like a hometown crowd outside of Philly. When I think of Barclays, of course, with what was mentioned there with some of the others who mentioned him, I think of him, Deontay Wilder. Those are two who've had a number of fights at Barclays, and that's a second home for the most part. I mean, Philly is right there as it relates to the distance between New York. I'm in Washington, D.C., and even, we can make that trip up there. We go to Philly all the time for fights. I've gone to Philly for a number of fights. So I think that, this is a hometown fight practically for Danny Garcia. And I think that he's going to do what he needs to do. He knows this is the swan. He knows that this is the swan song. And when you really look at it, resume for resume, comparison for comparison, shout out to his opponent, who I'm sure is going to be game right there. But Danny Garcia, he is one of the best of this last, I would say, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? 20 years. I guess we can give it that. And I think that will show, and he will do what he needs to do.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Been a great fighter. He should still have the goods to take Gonzalez out. Clubber, what do you think about this fight?
Well, the Beastie Boys said no sleep till Brooklyn. Someone's going to sleep in Brooklyn, and kind of like you're dang all right. And I've been using UFC stuff mixed with boxing this whole time. I'm gonna end it with that. Robbie Lawler knocked out Nico Price in his final fight in the UFC. I think that was a first round knockout. I got Danny Garcia knocking him out in the third round.
Don't do my man like that. Don't do my man like that. You can't even give him a caveat.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Robbie Lawler put Nico Price to sleep. I don't know if Gonzalez, right? I don't know if he's going to sleep, but he will be taking a knee or a nap shortly in Brooklyn. Third round, book it or not.
So you think Garcia is going to come out in his last fight in Brooklyn and get embarrassed
Josh,
like that?
Like Josh, like Ian said, I think we're going to get a vintage Danny Garcia knockout. I could feel it. He has something to prove. That Laura fight was not a good look, and I think he has something to prove. He's to be like, this is the last hurrah. Okay, so yeah.
Completely excuse me, everybody in the stream. I thought you said Gonzalez was going to knock him out. What? That's what I thought. That's why I was like, what? Wait a second. What do you mean? No. What are you doing? I was like, you sure you don't want to cover? Anyways, look, it don't even matter. With me, I'm going with my brother from the islands. Boricua, mi gente, huepa, let's go, Danny Garcia! This weekend, with the victory to end out what is a great career, what's been a great career at the Barclays Center. And as we end an amazing stream once again here at Ball and Buds, please make sure you subscribe at BALLANDBUDS. We would love and appreciate we'd love to have, and we appreciate our guest, Ian Greene from Top Boxing News on Instagram. You please make sure you tap in with them. Ian, how'd you feel about this stream with the Ball and Buds that you're definitely going to have to join again later because you have no choice now?
Oh man, it was amazing, man. It was amazing talking to all you guys. And yeah, I did a stream last night. I'm kind of getting used to these coming on other people's streams and not interviewing people myself, but I love it, man. I love coming on and being able to talk fights. It's what I love to do, man. It's awesome.
Nice.
Cool. Well, I'll hit you up on Instagram again, everybody. Top Boxing News. I'll hit you up and we'll get you on one of our shows on Ball and Buds one of these days.
Amazing, man. Let's do it.
Awesome. Josh, 86 Boxing, sign off for us, brother.
Ali Boumaye. But what I will say is I'm going to be in Connecticut this weekend for the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. Shout out to my guy, Joe Cusano, retired pro official. He got back into the amateur officiating game, and he's partly or in a large part responsible for me getting into the officiating game. He's out of Connecticut. He's being inducted into the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. So I'm going to be there to support, show some love to my man, Joe Casano out there holding it down from Hartford, Connecticut, Hartford fighting town as well. You know, we really boil it down. So salute to him. And hey, I appreciate everyone. Appreciate being able to be on here. Good meeting you, Ian, there. So hey, hope to continue to connect.
Of course, man. Yeah, good meeting you as well.
Make sure you tap in and connect with 86 Boxing on all of your channels. And finally, my streaming partner in crime, Clubba D, the Combat G. What's good, brother?
Oh, this was fun. You know, nice meeting you, Ian. Josh, always a pleasure. Omar, always fun. So, you know, check us out. If you haven't added us, take a minute, add us all, you know, and have fun. Watch us all grow.
Yep, there you go. And I'd also like to give one last shout out. We did talk about Vaughn Alexander and Maidel Sando, so I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about congratulations to the new NBA cruiserweight champion Craig Parker and the new WBB light heavyweight champion William Langston. Both of those fought at Country Box this past week. Shout out to Jimmy Adams, my brother, and all of them over at Country Box, Hermes, Maidel, everybody over there, Ashley. So shout out to them. If you're in Nashville, please come check out Country Box. Subscribe to them as well. And Ball and Buds, check us out. We don't just do boxing. We do all sports. Check out our next show. Will be Sunday Showdown. It'll be Clubber D and I, our brothers Dirty Mojo and Shane Peach. We talk all the football games from the day. So if you like a good football recap and pick show, check us out. Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. That being said, I appreciate all you, especially you, Ian, for taking the time out. I'll hit you up on Instagram. Holla. 5,000.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Oh.